Hi, friends. Welcome to Tabletop Tonight. This is Ruel's Wrap Up. I'm Ruel, and I'm talking about the games that I played in January of 2024. Let's get to it, shall we? And the first game I want to talk about is one game that I absolutely adore. I love Yahtzee. It is the original roll and write, and Michelle and I got to play this a few times actually this last month. The CupNoodle version. I want to thank the op for sending it over. This was actually part of my big marathon, my birthday marathon stream as well. I got to play with Ray from the op. This game here, Michelle and I played for Tabletop Live Network. Yahtzee is the OG roll and write, folks. You roll, you may re-roll up to two more times, and then you're gonna have to record a score. And they're like poker scores, like three of a kind, full house, straights, and whatnot. And you get various points. And then after a certain number of rolls, I think it's like 20, certain number of things you fill out. Just add up the score. The most points wins. It's simple by today's means, by today's standards. However, it's been highly influential, not only in the roll and writes genre, but also Richard Garfield, someone you may know from King of Tokyo, Magic the Gathering. King of Tokyo takes the Yahtzee roll mechanism and implements it into a monster fighting game. It's been so influential, and I always love it. I will always play Yahtzee, and the cup noodles version probably the most delicious looking one. So that's my number 20 for the month. Let's move on to my number 19 of the month, and you may recognize this one as well. Hey, it is another Yahtzee game, Yahtzee: The Walking Dead version. So Michelle and I also played this version where it's a battle version, which I really like. It's got a thing where you're still playing Yahtzee, but as you score, depending on where you score, you can attack your opponent. We each start with 100 hit points, and then if you score in the top half of the or the bottom half of your score sheet, that's where like three of a kind, straights, and full houses are. You get to attack your opponent for that many points, and then the top half where you just score the numbers. Whatever you score there, you can heal that many. It's a really interesting take. I've never seen Battle Yahtzee. I liked it. I actually liked it a lot. That's why I ranked it a little higher than the Cup Noodle version, because Yahtzee Cup Noodle, that's just standard Yahtzee, just with a cool theme. Walking Dead, actually, you can play regular Yahtzee, but then they introduced these rules, and I was like, what the heck? And as you can see here, I adore my copy of Walking Dead. It's got the awesome collectible cup. I actually picked this up on sale years ago just because of the cup alone. And then I realized, oh my gosh, the Battle Yahtzee is so good. So that was my number 19 of the month. Yahtzee, the Walking Dead, the collectible cup version. I think is the official title, but whatever it is, it's awesome. Okay, moving right along. My number 18 is a game that I played during my birthday. It is Sheep in Disguise. I got to play this with my buddy Daryl, aka Daryl B Gaming. This one was a paid sponsorship as well. This is from Skybound Entertainment. It's a very light game. It's a lot of fun. It's got some take that. If you like games like Exploding Kittens along those lines, this is a lot same style of game. You're trying to collect different flocks of sheep, and as you do, I think it's for the two-player game. You're supposed to get up to, I think it's 5 flocks of sheep, and flocks of sheep are 3 of a kind of the same sheep. But we played with some additional rules where you could do like a wild flock, which is 5 different types of sheep, and that's actually how. Well, should I say who won? No, you're gonna have to check out the video to see who won. But the either me or Daryl, whoever played that wild flock, may have taken the win. So it's got a lot of cool things where it's really simple, play a card, draw a card type mechanism. Really great to bring to a family party because the art is super fun and it's Sheep in Disguise. It's my number 18 game of January. Okay, moving right along. Now this one, I want to let y'all know that I have a Patreon, and my Patreon page, I release exclusive videos, and this is one of them. I'm going to give you a sneak peek right now for my number 17 game of the month, Second Chance. And as you can see here, I'm playing the game. It is a roll and write using polyominoes. I love roll and writes. I love polyomino games. This is Uwe Rosenberg, his take on roll and write games, and it is fantastic. It's light enough that you can play it with all kinds of players. They'll notice like the Tetris pieces, like, ooh, what's that? And then the roll and write, it's super simple. It's basically a flip and fill. It's a random, you know, you have your cards, you shuffle them up, and then you turn them over, and you have to fit the piece there. And you just go until you can no longer fit a piece. You will get a second chance, and you get another card. If you can fit that, then you continue. If you cannot, your game is over. And you're trying to fill in all the squares, as many as possible. Now, as a solo game, you actually play 3 games and try to get fewer than 10 total unused squares. That is not easy, folks, to play 3 games. Like, I'm going to tell you right now, my first game, I think I'm nearly filled in all of my squares. If not, I may have filled them all. You can see here. But you got to do it 3 times. Again, I'm not going to spoil it. You can check out the video. And unfortunately, well, I will not going to say unfortunately, but yes, this is a Patreon exclusive. Be sure to hit the links below to check that out. You can be a Patreon for $1 a month and get exclusive access to videos like this. Okay, that's my number 17. My number 16 game of the month is a family favorite here in the Gaviola household. It is a game called Tumblin Dice. Yes, I played this on my birthday with my family. My brothers, their families came over. This is actually a run through that Michelle and I did last year. I love this game. Now, if it were not for CupNoodle, this would be in my number 1 dexterity game of all time. But I love CupNoodle, but I also love Tumblin Dice. It's the number 2 all-time dexterity game for me. Very simple. It's got these like stairs. You can see here, the stairs start at like the shooting point where the Eagle Griffin logo is. You take a die, normal 6-sided die, and flick it onto the tumbling down the stairs. And you'll notice that you have times 0, 1, 2, 3, and then 4. The 4 is really tough to get because those are smaller spaces. But basically, as you shoot the dice, after you shoot, I think it's 4 dice that everyone gets, you total up your points. And then you play 3 rounds, most points wins. So if I had a 5 right there that sat on number 1, that's 5 times 1, 5 points. However, you can see I shot or maybe Michelle did, a 3 on the number 4 spot. That's 3 times 4, that's 12. So, this is a lot of fun. And my brother's family had not played it. One of my brother's family had not played it yet. My nephew crushed us. He had like 150 points or something. But we all loved it. It's super easy. You teach it in like 30 seconds, play it in a few minutes. It's great. Tumblin Dice, my number 16 game of the month. Shout out to my brother and his family for coming over on my birthday. Both my brothers and their families came over, but one of them had to leave early, and then the second family got to play Tumblin Dice, which really, really made my day. Okay, let's move on here. Let's go on to my number 15 game. Another one that I didn't expect to like as much, and I hope I don't butcher the name. This is Alpujarras Express from our friends at Dr. Finn's Games, Steve Finn. This is based on Alpujarras, and what this is, I'll talk about Alpujarras in a minute. And spoiler alert, the original game may show up on my list, folks. This Express game is basically just little cards, and you set them up, and you move in almost like Tokaido style. The person in last place moves is the current player, and as you can see here, Daryl and I are just playing. When you can move up to 3 spaces, but then the player in last will take the cards after you, right? Like Daryl just did there. And set collection. And there's cards, I think it's every 5th card is face down, so you don't know where you're going to get. And you're trying to collect the different, I think, fruits and veggies, and then you'll have multipliers depending on what you have. So it's a really interesting thing, and you'll notice here, as we go along here, I'm going to back up a little bit. So you can see, okay, here's a bunch of fruits, here's a market that's going to give you multipliers, here is straight up coins, which are victory points. And as you do that, it's really neat because it's almost like a cat and mouse thing. Like, oh, where's he going to go? Do I take this one from my opponent, or do I leave it there knowing that I can get I can gamble and try to get that face down one, and hopefully that'll be the one I need. So it was really surprising to me. We played it in like 5-10 minutes. It was super cool. So definitely check that out. That's Alpujarras Express. Okay. Moving on, number 14. This is a bigger and a deeper game that I got from a friend, and I forgot the company's name, but I want to thank them for sending it over. This is number 14, Lunar Rush, and I played a solo game here. This one had all kinds of goodies. This was had bidding, simultaneous play for multiplayers. Of course, I was doing solo, but it's got a resource management and tableau engine building. Basically, what you're doing is you've got ships going out to the moon to mine resources, and then you bring those ships back. But what's really cool is the ships, each ship travels at different speeds. So the smaller ships will get to the moon or to the Earth in one turn, but they can't carry as much. The bigger ships, like the biggest ship, will take at least 3 turns, but you can carry a bunch of stuff. So as you get there, and you'll see there's the player aid right there showing all the turn order and what you do on a turn. You have a moon base, which is where you're doing your tableau building, your engine building. Because on the moon, you're trying to mine these resources to, mine them into things that you come back to Earth and sell it for. And that's another thing too. The really cool, the market economy here. You're trying to sell at the highest, as you bring your stuff back from the moon. And as you can see here, I'm leveling up my moon base to be a little more efficient for my engine, so I can mine resources at a better rate. And then finally, when I get to Earth and get back to the Earth base, then I can sell at a higher rate, hopefully before my opponents do. And if you hear the dogs barking in the background, folks, those Meeple and Mookie, they may show up a little later here, but they like to bark when there's either a delivery or someone at the door. Which in this case, I don't know what it is. But anyways, that's my number 14 game of the month, Lunar Rush. All right, number 13 is another old favorite, which I hadn't played for a while, but I was so happy to do so. It is a great roll and write called On Tour. And now I played this with the Good Time Society crew. We partnered with Tabletop Live Network. That's the monthly event that I created with the brothers Murph. There's Nick Murphy over there on the right side. I'm also hanging out with Paula Deming there and Becca Scott and Jake Michaels. We played On Tour as a way to kick off last month's TLN event, which just happened to be a roll and write event. Now, On Tour is fantastic. This is such a great roll and write. It's one of those, another one that's super easy to get to the table, but it's super crunchy and puzzly. Everyone has a map, in this case of the US. We are a traveling band, and we're trying to connect as many cities together so we can go on tour. And it's really simple. You just roll 2 D10s. You're going to create 2 numbers like 35, 53, and you must write those numbers based on what cards have come out. And the cards will tell you here, like, hey, it's got to be in the northwest or north part of the U.S., south part, east, west, whatever. So those are the limitations, and eventually you're going to connect, or hopefully try to connect as many cities as you can. It's a terrific game. I love the fact that there's no dice mitigation. Like, there's no, oh, flip this die here, or add 1, subtract. No. We are all in the same boat, folks. We're all in the same boat as far as, hey, we may have gotten hosed here, but everyone may have gotten hosed, and you have to figure out where to write those numbers. It's a wonderful puzzle. Still holds up to this day, and you can play. We played, what was that, a 5-player game? You can play as many as you want, as long as everyone has score sheets. Okay, so that is my number 13 on tour. Shout out to the Good Time Society for hosting TLN. We had a great time. It was Roll and Write month last month, January. So of course I had to play as many as possible. And this was another exclusive video on my for my Patreon supporters. My number 12 game, Dungeons, Dice, and Danger. I played a solo game. Again, you're getting a sneak peek right here. This is for my Patreon supporters only, but this is part of my Discord community's solo challenge. Our friends James and Legends put this together every month, and this month, in January, they picked Dungeons, Dice, and Danger by Richard Garfield. We may have talked about him earlier in the wrap-up. Yes, this is his take on a roll and write mixed in with a dungeon crawl. I've got to be honest with you folks, when I first got this game, I was frustrated as heck. I didn't really like the game. I was like, why can I not do well in this game? Then things started clicking and clicking. I was like, oh, okay. You want to do this or that, blah, blah, blah. I love this game now. It's actually vaulted up in my estimation as far as roll and writes are concerned. You roll 5 dice, the active player. The black die can only be used by the active player, and you're going to make combinations of dice, 2 combos, and you're going to write those, fill those in anywhere on your dungeon that is either a green spot or connected to a previously marked spot. And as you do, you're going to unlock paths to get to treasure, to get to special items, and then finally to battle monsters. And that's the funnest part. You have to keep punching monsters by rolling the dice. There's different ways to punch them. And when you do, you'll get victory points. And eventually you're going to run out of health and, not die, but get knocked out. And then you have to tally up your score. It's so much fun. Friends, be sure to check out this, or actually on the TLN channel, you can see we did a play along with it. That's public on the Twitch TLN channel, Tabletop Live Network. This one, though, come on over, support me on Patreon for $1 a month or more, depending on what you can afford, and you can see me play through the game, Dungeons, Dice, and Danger. All right, let's move on to my number 11 for the month. These are the games I've played in January. I fell in love with this game immediately. My number 11. Michelle and I both did when I first saw it, because it's got one of the cutest components ever. It's number 11, Dice Veggies. And yes, there it is, a cardboard cleaver. And something like a cleaver, you don't think of it as cute, but it is cute in this game. I want to shout out our friends Kids Table Board Game for hooking us up with a copy at PAX Unplugged this year. We played it and immediately just fell in love with it. What you're doing is, number one, the theme. It's a food theme game, so of course we're going to love it. But you're trying to create finished recipes on your cards here. Those recipes, hey, they need veggies. And those dice represent the veggies. So you take your cleaver and you're going to cut off a section of the veggie stock, which I just did there. Now, the tricky thing is, those are regular 6-sided dice. You can only carve off a total of 10 or less. So you can't just carve off like 10, dice or whatever, a bunch of dice that are way over a total of sum of 10. So it's got that really puzzly element. There goes Michelle. She just carved off 9. And then you can only keep a certain amount. I think it's like 8 dice in your hand. And then you have to fill in the recipes depending. Hey, this one needs an onion. This one needs a carrot. As you can see there, I'm already lining up to finish one recipe. Different recipes are worth different points. Then you have your the hype cards. I think they're called hype cards. Those are special bonuses that if you complete a recipe in a special way. So if I had, like, say, I need 2 carrots and 2 onions. But if I do it in a way that one of the hype cards said, hey, all the dice, if you do all the dice even numbers, or all dice in a straight, like 1, 2, 3, 4 in consecutive order, you get extra points for those hype cards. Oh, it's so clever. It's so easy to manage and teach, and it's a small box game, plays in like 20 minutes. It's one of the best fillers I've come across in years, and I love Dice Veggies, folks. Highly recommend. That's why it's my number 11 game of January. Be sure to click the link below, folks. You can find out what you played. I talk about the games that you played in the month of January as a companion piece to Ruel's wrap-up. But hey, it's still my turn to talk about the games I played, so let's move on to the number 10. This is the top 10 for the month. I played 20 different games this month. Lighter month for me, but hey, start of the year, lots of great stuff. This was the next one, number 10, was a paid sponsored preview of Jewels for the Emperor Penguin. We love this one. This is along the lines of like a Splendor type game. And hey, look at all those jewels or gems that you have here. It's Splendor, but with a really cool, not route building, but spatial element to it, where you're moving along the tiles here. Your little penguins. You have dice. Those dice indicate which penguin can move. You have 1 through 5, and then the 6th one is like a snowflake symbol, which is wild. You can move any penguin. But as you move there, you're going to gain resources, gems, and you're going to convert those gems to the top cards, the objective cards, which are the jewelry that the Emperor Penguin wants. And you're trying to score the most points. I think you can build up to, I don't know, 4 or 8 cards, I forget. But once you hit that threshold, then the game ends, and you score the points, and the most points wins, of course. But here's a really cool thing. As you bump penguin, you can bump penguins. Like if your penguin is a higher number than your previously placed penguin, then that one's going to bump over to another section. And what we liked was sliding down, because you can never go straight up in this. There's a wall, right, for each tile. But you can slide down, and it's really fun to bump. And then you can do these combos where you bump multiple penguins. And as they slide down, they pick up stuff on the way down. It's so cute. You're going to pick up like gems and whatnot. And then when you're at the very bottom, they call it, like, I don't know if it's like called the Alpine Market or whatever. That's where you get your gems, so you can start converting them to the higher price gems. Because the higher price gems, like the diamonds and sapphires, you usually have to go all the way top the mountain. But if you do it just right, gain like a bunch of the smaller ones, and then those slide down, and then you can convert those into the higher price ones to get the most points. We had a lot of fun with that. We partnered with Left Justified Studio for the playthrough. So it's legit good, folks. And I think, well, check out the campaign. It may, by the time you watch this, it's probably on this last day or two. But they have a plush penguin, which I think is the cutest thing in the world. Check that out, the plush penguin that's a part of the game. And yeah, so much fun. That's why it was my number 10 of the month, Jewels for the Emperor Penguin. Okay, number 9. Oh, this one. This is a terrific solo game, and it's from the op, and it's called The Art Project. I played this solo, and I lost. I don't know if I've beaten this one yet. I'm looking at it like I need to beat this game. It's a lot of fun. At first I'm thinking, okay, it's going to be another like pandemic style game. No, it's got a lot more going on than that. It's a lot of hand management, trying to figure out the resources you need to stop the art thieves of the world, and you're trying to do that before the time runs out. Basically, yeah, if you don't have enough resources or whatever, they're gonna overrun you. It's not pandemic style where you're trying, cubes spread out, but you're trying to manage like, hey, there's a bunch of baddies here. I need to beat in this spot before I go on to the next, because you want to recover the art that they're trying to steal. The op, folks, they're generally known for party games. This is not a party game. This is a beautiful art by Vincent Dutray. I forgot the art designer's names. My apologies, but you can look that up on the internet. They've got this, and they've got a game that they're teasing called Aqua that's going to be out. Actually, by the time you see this video, it's going to be Tuesday, February 6th. It may be out already, but they are really upping their game as far as the complexity and their strategy games. Like, I love Telestrations. I love Blank Slate, Hues and Cues. Great party games. And then, of course, all the Monopolies and Yahtzees, actually, as well. But now they're stepping in this section of the hobby board gaming world. I'm all for it, folks. And this is a great way to launch a little more deeper in strategic games. The Art Project. Definitely check it out if you want a tough solo puzzle, but also a great multiplayer cooperative game. That is the Art Project. Okay, let's move on to number 8. We got some really good stuff coming up here. Number 8 is Neotopia. Want to thank our sponsors, not only for sponsoring my birthday live stream, but also Ruel's wrap up. Arcane Wonders has sponsored this wrap up, and I just realized I put this game on here not because it's Arcane Wonders and they're a sponsor, but we played this on Tabletopia on my birthday. I didn't even think about it. I usually just focus on real life analog games, but I had such a great time with Bree that I put this on the list. I didn't even think about it. So anyways, Neotopia, it's got that Azul feeling, and actually the tiles in real life. And, I'm looking at it, this does look like the real thing, but you cannot substitute the real life click clack of tiles. They're like very much like Azul tiles, but they're round, and it's got this, each section you're trying to put together little patterns, right? Like say 2 blue ones next to 3 green ones in a specific shape, you'll get those points. And then here's the thing. Not only you do those for those in-game points, but during the game points, but at the end of the game, you're going to look at each section. There's 3 areas, and then you're going to score based on how many your biggest line that's connected, contiguous line. And then what's cool, I love this. It's like Brie and I talked about. It's got this Knizia style twist where your lowest one is actually going to score triple. So if you can keep your scores very similar, then the triple one's going to be worth a lot. Very, very cool design. I hadn't played it for a while. When Bree taught it to me on my birthday, or retaught it to me, I realized, darn it, I really like this game. And what's funny is I liked it so much I forgot I played the digital, not the actual game. But hey, it counts. It's on the list. It's my number 8, Neotopia from Arcane Wonders. Okay, let's move on to number 7. That's so funny. Number 7, another new game. This one's actually coming out next month in March from Renegade Game Studios. I got an advanced copy, and I want to thank Renegade Game Studios for partnering with me to play the Vale of Eternity. Again, another birthday game that I played, this time with Bonzinator. She came over, we got to hang out, and we played this wonderful little set collection game with hand management and sort of like a, not really auction style, but it's card drafting, where one player drafts and the other one, it's like a snake draft. They do it twice, draft 2 cards, and then I get the last card, say, in the round first. Then Bonds does second and third, then I do fourth. And what you do is you're taking the cards. It's got this really interesting bit of resource management. The currency, it's very specific. You have either 1, 3, or I believe 5, or is it 6? 6. Those coins or those magic stones are worth, those values, but you can only have a max 4 of them in your hand. So, and there's no change. So you're always trying not to overpay. You're trying to pay exact, but there's just times when you have to overpay because you want a certain card. And those cards come in, and you're going to play them into your tableau. Those will give you either immediate benefits or ongoing benefits. You're trying to collect different families, the different, suits basically with the cards. Beautiful, beautiful art. There's a bunch of artists that worked on this game, and I love it. It was just gorgeous. Me and Bonds were just, afterwards like, oh my god, this game is beautiful. So it's coming out. It's very affordable too. For it's a family weight game, but I will say this: do not overlook this one, folks. It's a really fun family weight. I would say maybe Gateway Plus, just because of the powers and stuff. It's a winner in my book. Renegade. They've been doing a lot of stuff like. Really with their IPs, right? G.I. Joe, Transformers, all the old like Acquire, Axis, and Allies. That's great. I like that. I fully support that. It's bringing in these classics and IPs that people are super familiar with. But games like this, they were doing games like this years ago. It's nice to see them come back like, hey, here's an original game with this very original world. And it's something that a lot of people can just pick up and play. And that's why it's my number 7 of the month, The Vale of Eternity. All right. Number 6 is a game that Daryl and I played for our On the Clock series. And On the Clock, we play games as fast as we can because it's a crazy idea we came up with where we play with a chess clock. We take the lowest time suggested on BGG and slice it in half. So Forest Shuffle said it plays in 30 to 60 minutes. So we took the 30, we sliced it in half. That's 15 minutes. We gave ourselves 7.5 minutes each with a chess clock and played the game. We successfully did it. It was great. Now, we do give ourselves a couple of timeouts just for our rules clarifications and whatnot, but it's still a lot of fun. Forest Shuffle, one of my favorite games of 2023. It still is. It's major set collection, but it's also got multi-use cards. And as you can see here, you're building this forest. You've got animals, you got plants, you got butterflies, birds, all kinds of stuff. And you could tuck those cards in 4 different places. Top, bottom, left, and right of each card. It's so good. And it's so puzzly. Like, you're always trying to figure out how can I combo to get extra moves on my turn. Because normally all you're doing is taking cards or playing cards. That's it. One turn, right? But you want to do so much more. So sometimes you'll find those synergies like, hey, I can start building this. I'm going to get extra turns further down the line. Or I can start scoring this multiple times. But here's the thing, friends. What's great is you only have the hand limit of 10. You always want to have more cards in your hand, but you can't. And then the 10 cards, the cards that you get rid of, that you have to play for every card, they go into the forest, which your opponent can take. So it's got a very similar thing. Again, I'm always talking about my favorite designer, Reiner Knizia. It's got a very Knizia, like Lost Cities vibe, where, I don't want to play this card, but I have to, and my opponent might take it. Now that forest, just like your hand is limited, you can only have 10 in there. Once there's 10, they get wiped clean. So it keeps it fresh. Oh, I love Forest Shuffle. I think it's fantastic. And it's even fun when you play it as fast as you can. It's just a no-brainer. My number 6 game of the month, Forest Shuffle. Okay, moving on to number 5. I played this game several times since the end of last year, and it's still going strong. It is my number 5, Rebuilding Seattle. Tile Lane with a market going on here where it's a really cool theme of rebuilding Seattle after the Great Fire of in the 1800s or whatever. And polyominoes, folks, I love those. Michelle and I love them. But this one, you have to figure out, hey, how much money do I have to spend in order to get the tiles I want? And then you want to try to, of course, manipulate the market so you have enough money to put these tiles down and then generate income as well. It's a really fine balancing act. I played this several times over the last couple of months, and I absolutely adore it. I love it. And can I talk about Rebuilding Chicago? That's a game that the designer sort of hinted at. I don't know if I was supposed to say anything, but he did hint about it in chat. So he talked about another great fire. So another rebuilding of a city, and he gave a hint. And I was like, it's Chicago. That's going to be coming out hopefully this year. I'm assuming it's a standalone expansion or a re-implementation using a different city. But folks, check this out. I got more thoughts on this. Check out the run through. We did it for TLN a couple of months ago. I love rebuilding Seattle. It's still one of my favorites. Okay, number 4 on the list. We had some lot of fun on my birthday playing games, and I played a solo game. I played several solo games, and this one was so good. 20 Strong from Chip Theory Games. Y'all know Chip Theory Games from Too Many Bones, Burn Cycle. They do the most amazing productions. And I gotta say, for a game that only has a deck of cards and 20 dice, it's absolutely gorgeous. I don't know what they use for their cards. It's not plastic, but it's got this like finish that's super nice. And then the dice, they're chunky, they're solid, and they're easy to figure out what are the pips and stuff. This is a solo game, folks, and it was brutal. For the first one, so what 20 Strong is, it's actually a system that they use. The system can be used for any type of card game where basically you have the 20 Strong system, then you bring in the different decks. And I was playing with the Solar Sentinels. They have a deck that's themed after Too Many Bones and other games. And as you do that, the game changes. So in this one, Solar Sentinels, you're trying to get through one of the decks of cards. There's 3 set up there. Those are all the monsters. You have different ways to defeat them, rolling the dice, and it's a really fun, a lot of fun trying to manage all the dice. Like how many dice can you keep on a turn? Because every time you use them, they're going to be exhausted. You got to bring them back, and by the time, can you get through an entire deck of cards? Because the object of the game is get through one of the decks of cards and then beat the big monster, the big baddie, which I didn't do in this. I didn't even get through. I got through about half of one deck, then I ran out of dice, so I died. It's so good. I highly recommend this. 20 Strong is so good, so puzzly, and there's a ton of replayability because you can get all the different decks. Want to thank Chip Theory Games again for partnering with me. I fell in love with this game instantly, and I do have the other 2 decks that are out now. I'm going to be playing those. So that is 20 Strong from Chip Theory Games. Again, thanks to them for sponsoring one of my sponsors for my birthday stream. All right, number 3. I hinted at this earlier because I played the Express version of the game, but I'm talking about Alpujarras, the basic standard, the big game. This is also from Dr. Finn's, and when I say big, I shouldn't say big because it is a large game, because Steve Finn games, they're usually smaller box games, and this is another example of a game that punches way above its weight. I was very impressed with this, and I'm wondering why this has gone under so many content creators' radar. Is it? The board, it looks okay. It's not the most prettiest board, but the gameplay is so solid, folks. Basically, you're just moving around that track on the far outside of the track, and it's action selection. You can move, go to wherever you want. Again, sort of Tokaido-ish. The player in last is going to go first. You could skip over, go to the action you want. But once you go to the action, you take it, and it's a lot of resource management. You're trying to, deliver goods or create goods. It's basically the story of the Arab revolution and farming revolution. I think in the Middle Ages, and farmers had figure out techniques to increase their crops, increase all the things that they produce, and then you have to produce those and then go to the different markets on the board to sell them at a premium price, hopefully the most money that you can. There's different abilities, there are special things, free actions you can do. My goodness, this is so good, and I want to see who else is playing this. I'm curious. Is it just me? Am I the only one that loves this game so much? Dr. Finn, Steve Finn, he does lighter games like Herbaceous, Floriferous, the Whatnot Cabinet. They're light. They play in 20, 30 minutes, but man, they're so good. And Rahdo likes to joke. He thinks Dr. Finn is the king of filler games, 20, 30 minutes games. So I highly recommend this. This is more along the lines of his game Mining Colony. If you played that, that's rather than 30 minutes. That's like 30 to 60. This is the same way, 30 to 60. Maybe, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just the name Alpujarras that's a little tough to pronounce. It doesn't really, like, you see the name, and maybe because it's been released in the U.S., people don't know exactly what it is. But oh my gosh, do not let this one pass you by, folks. I highly recommend this one. My number 3 game, Alpujarras from Dr. Fizz Games. Okay, number 2 and 1. Now, so I had a great month in gaming, especially because of my birthday. Played some great stuff. I partnered with some great companies. I've been looking forward to my number 2 game for months, and to finally get a physical copy and play it was the biggest treat. It is from Cephalofair Games. It is Gloomhaven, Buttons and Bugs. Oh my! This could have easily been my number 1 game. Takes Gloomhaven, literally shrinks it down into a card, and just the map is one card, and on the flip side of that map is actually the narrative story. Isaac Childress has come up with this new narrative story in the Gloomhaven world, where you and you as a hero, it's a solo game, have been shrunk down to tiny size, and you have to complete missions using the Gloomhaven system of, hey, I've got 4 cards, I'm going to play 2 of them. What's my initiative? Am I going to go fast? Am I going to go slow? Can I defeat the baddies? There's, all kinds of stuff. Everything you love about Gloomhaven is in this game, and it's so tiny. It's as small as like a tiny epic game, folks. I love this game. I knew it was going to be a hit when I got to work with Cephalofair last year as their live stream producer. I had to keep my mouth shut for months. I knew about this, but when they launched it at the midpoint of the campaign, I said, it's going to be a huge hit. It was. It was a smash hit. Joe, the designer, had originally done this as Gloomholden. Check it on BGG. It was his own 18-card version, literally fit in your hand, of Gloomhaven. And Cephalofair loved it so much, they said, hey, we want to buy this from you, and you work with Nikki Valens, an all-star designer who's done Artisans Planet Vale and a bunch of other great stuff. You and Nikki work together, make it Gloomhaven Buttons and Bugs, and I got to see them play it on a virtual version a couple of times, and as we did the live streams, and I thought this is tremendous. Seeing it in person, oh my gosh, it's so good. Highly recommend it. Go check out my playthrough. I did Scenario 1. I was going to do 2 of them, but I was too tired after a marathon 10-hour live stream on my birthday. So I'm going to do Scenario 2 real soon on my channel. Be sure to click the links below. Find me on Twitch. And then, of course, it'll be ported over to YouTube. So that's my number 2 game of the month, Gloomhaven, Buttons and Bugs. Got one more, folks. And this is a game that I actually learned at PAX Unplugged, thanks to my friend Dwayne of Blackboard Gaming. But I hadn't played it a full game of it until this last month with, I played a solo game, and then I played with the Good Time Society crew, Jake Michaels, and also Kate Elliott joined us. This is The White Castle from DeVere Games. I'm going to show the video here. I don't have the video from Good Time Society, but I do have the video here from my brothers from another mother, the Brothers Murph. The White Castle from DeVere, folks. Same design team as the Red Cathedral. I don't know which one I like better. They're both so good. What's so amazing to me about the White Castle is that this game has exactly 9 turns. That's it. You have 9 turns to figure out how the heck are you going to build up this engine to do all the things you want to do. There's so many things you can do. It's dice worker placement style. You've got resources to manage. You want to get your dice into the castle to, I forget the theme. It's like you're trying to court the castle to, try to do all the things, but it's such an interesting puzzle of like, how the heck am I going to go in 9 turns get all the things I can do to get the resources I need in order to convert them into points. As you can see, Nick and Mike, they're thinking it was a brain burner, but I love this type of brain burner, folks. Just like the Red Cathedral, the White Castle plays in about 60 minutes, 60 to 90. And I want more games like this. Give me the feel, the crunch, the brain burner of a midweight Euro, but in less time than 3 hours. I'm all about that. I love the little bridge, you put your dice on there. You're going to slide those. You pick on either left or right side. There's so many ways, so many different combinations. There are different parts of the board. You have your farmers, you have your warriors, you have your courtiers. You're all trying to get those in sync with each other to score the most points. I had such a great time with this, with Jake and Kate, and that's why it's my number 1 game of the month, folks, The White Castle. It is Fantastic. So there you go, folks. That's my wrap up. I'm so glad you were here to hang out with me today as I went through these. Be sure to click on the links below to see all the videos and all the people I mentioned. Want to thank Arcane Wonders for sponsoring this video. And until next time, I'll see you here. Oh, by the way, be sure to click on the links below for What You Played. It's my companion show where I talk about the games that you played in the month of January. All right. So I'll see you later. Take care. Hit like and subscribe. Bye, friends.